All Things Russellville. We have a special guest today. We're so excited, and we will warn you, we are post-eclipse. We're super tired. We've been up super early this morning. We've been on some national shows, but we have Mike Massimino in the house. Woo-hoo!
Hello, Russellville.
So excited.
So excited.
So exciting. And we have a whole list of questions that we're dying. And I've held off all day to ask him these questions. People have been asking you questions all day, and I've said,
they've been great questions.
I've got questions, but I'm waiting till tonight. So if you
Here it is.
If you weren't able to get downtown over the last 2 days, 24, 40, I don't even know, I'm delirious, 24, 48 hours to meet him or NASA, we have some questions that he's going to answer, so you'll all get to hear all the answers, right?
Yes, and we have recorded kids in the community who are aspiring astronauts.
That's right.
to ask their deep, burning questions. And we've got some good ones, so excited to share those.
Yeah, so, okay.
Thank you for having me on your show.
We're honored.
And thank you for inviting me into your community. You feel very comfortable here. Well, I kind of like it here. Very nice. You're all very lucky to live here in Russellville. Everyone is watching. It's not just people from Russellville. It's other places. So
we hear that.
But it's just a wonderful community.
And tell us where you live now, and a little bit.
I live in New York City.
So no wonder.
Now, in Manhattan. Well, yeah, maybe that explains that. I could use a break from the chaos there, but yeah, that's where I live now. Yeah, awesome. I lived in Houston. I lived in Texas for many years, for over 22 years. And then when I left NASA 10 years ago, I moved to New York City to teach up there.
And tell us where you teach.
I teach at Columbia University, which is in right there in New York City.
So that gets into my first question. Mm-hmm. Did you ever, as a young kid, did you think I want to be an astronaut? Like, is that what you aspired to be?
When I was a little guy, when I was 6 years old, I watched Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. I'm old enough to remember that. It was a long time ago, and I didn't just want to be an astronaut. I wanted to be Neil Armstrong. Okay. I thought he was the coolest. All those astronauts were just so cool. Like, they were these fearless guys.
Cool.
Really?
Yes, that's what we think of you.
Yeah. That's mainly because those guys were that cool, and now you just assume that all of us were like that.
You've come to Russellville, Arkansas, and will forever be.
Take that, Neil Armstrong.
You're famous.
Yes, I got to meet him. But he was my hero. I wanted to grow up to be an astronaut, but as I was getting older, when I was about 8 years old, I realized I was afraid of heights, and I was like, this could never happen. I can't be a fearless test pilot like Neil Armstrong. And I really was not cut out to be a military test pilot like those guys were. And I just kind of crossed it off the list. But then the space shuttle program began when I was in college, and the first women were selected to be shuttle astronauts, the first people of color. There was a lot of civilians and engineers. And then I started thinking when I was in college, well, maybe this could be a possibility. And so I thought maybe I could at least try. I can get at least the requirements, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Megan, you got a question?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I have a whole list, but I don't want to take up the whole. So, yeah.
Yes. We are in the presence of greatness. We are so thankful for the work you did, in the Hubble and your time and space. And you talk a lot about, in your book, Moonshot, about overcoming failures, your eye, your vision, and your not being able to swim, things like that. And then here you are today. You've spacewalked twice. You have seen Earth from outer space. So just talking about overcoming those challenges.
Yeah, I think you just got to keep trying and not give up on things. And I think it's important to give yourself a chance to be successful at whatever it is that you want to do. And no one's going to have an easy road at it. Successful people are not people that never fail. They're those who never let failure stop them. And I think that's in anything that you try, whether it's trying to get through school or learning to drive a car or whatever it might be. And it's not going to be the easiest thing when you're learning something new or trying something different. And everything is difficult, I think, no matter what it is. And some people see a successful musician or an actor or an athlete or whoever it might be, and they think, oh, they must have had it easy because they had so much talent. And what you find is that they worked on it. Maybe they have some ability or some interest, but they really worked at it. And that's, I think, the thing to remember. And there's going to be challenges that come up in different ways you can't even imagine what's going to happen. And sometimes it's an educational obstacle. Sometimes it's some experience you need to get, or sometimes it's a physical obstacle, like you mentioned, the eyesight or something else that might be limiting you. But you need to figure out a way to get around it.
And you did that.
I did that, yeah. Yes. I was able to figure out a way to get around all these different things that I was lacking in. So I think that's important, just to keep trying, you know. And I think if you do that, you can have peace in your life. Yes. Once you give up, I think that's when you start running into trouble.
It's true. Let's show him a video. Show him one of our questions here, and let's answer a question or two.
Yes.
So we have Reed Olson, and
this is your nephew?
You met Reed earlier, so let's see if we can.
This is a smart young man we have here.
Yes, he is.
How high can you jump on the moon?
That's a good question. So that's a really good question. It's 1/6 the gravity on the moon.
Okay.
So one would think you would be able to jump 6 times as high as you could on Earth? No.
Really?
I don't think that would work either. Because on the moon, you're wearing a big bulky suit.
Well, I was going to ask, one of my questions is, how much does that suit weigh?
It was a few hundred pounds.
Really?
So that would limit what you could jump.
You don't feel
on the moon you'll feel. So on the moon there's a little bit of gravity.
You just
So it's 1/6 the gravity. So if you weigh whatever you weigh, divide it by 6, and that's what you'll weigh on the moon.
Okay. Put that
put that on your driver's license. That's where you want to go.
Maybe I do want to go to space.
Moon weight. This is my moon weight.
So I don't know. It's a really good question. We've never been. We never would test something like that. But theoretically, you could jump quite high.
Okay.
But you'd want to do it very carefully. But those extra couple hundred pounds, and then you're going to come down. So as we talked about gravity earlier, you're going to hit something.
That's right.
At some point. But no, that's a great question.
Knox Van Ness, and he's from Russellville Baptist Academy Preschool.
All right, here we go.
It's the hardest thing you did in space.
The hardest thing I did in space. The hardest thing in space, I think it was at first just getting used to being there. My body adapting. We talked about the spine growing. There's a little bit of pain in the back, and everything was just so new. We were getting around and the floating, and my stomach wasn't feeling so good the first day. I think just adapting to it was maybe the hardest thing to get used to. I was so well trained to do everything that was okay. I was surprised at how well I was able to do my work. I thought, what's going to happen? Things aren't going to be the same. But we were so well trained to do that. I think mainly for me it was just the adjustment, the physical adjustment to it.
Did your body
have
to readjust on entry?
Yeah, when you come back, you got to get used to gravity again, and I felt a little off balance. But if coming back for me was easier than going up, and it's usually one or the other.
Yeah.
But my second flight, I was fine going up. I didn't have any. I think my brain. What's amazing is what your brain can adapt to. Brains can do pretty amazing things and try to make sense of the world. Sometimes to our benefit, sometimes not so, because sometimes we'll miss things because our brain isn't. Geared towards seeing something, or we just kind of, it really do. You ever see those things where people can't, like a giant gorilla walks across the room and no one notices or something like that. So the brain doesn't process. Yes. It's the brain is making sense of the world, and so the space is much different, and the input it gets for your, with your vestibular system and your balance and everything that's going on, it makes you a little queasy at first, but then your brain will adjust. And then when it comes back to Earth, it's got to adjust back.
So I can only imagine.
Oh, I can't imagine.
So I kind of get car
well, you kind of get used to it, and you can't. There's really there's no way to predict based on what you've done on Earth.
You can't just turn around and come home. So that would make me a little nervous to
No, well, but you will adapt. No, but it shows with absolute confidence that in a day or so you're going to be feeling better.
Oh, that's good.
So there's also medicine too that can help. If you need an anti-nausea medicine, you have that available to you. But usually it's really solid that after a day, just about everyone's going to be okay.
I've got my last question.
Okay, last question.
This is Charlotte Nelson.
That's great.
Hello, my name is Charlotte Nelson, and I was just wondering what adversities you had to overcome to become an astronaut.
Wow. You're going to show those tapes to people? Those are great. She's wonderful. I think that the adversities will never stop. And
it's just how you approach them and what
it's
you do.
It's just, don't let them, readjust and do your best and get help and get through it. Once you get to a new job, whatever it might be, or something you really want to do, it's not like, all right, now you're set. That's your reward for doing well and achieving something. is typically more work.
Right.
You know, it's now crap. Now it's even harder.
You're
so,
right.
you know, and so I think that it's important to know that you're going to face adversity, but that's okay. That's what makes life interesting. You know, you don't want an easy life. You want a hard life. And I know that may sound strange to people, but you do want a life that's going to challenge you. You want to be challenged. You only got one shot at this,
That's
you know?
Right, we do.
There's going to be a lot of eclipses when we're not around. We're lucky to sit in one today.
Let's talk about that.
Talk about this. So we're just a few hours when we're recording this. We're a few hours after seeing this eclipse, which I was so honored to get to sit with you.
Oh, it was so. This is what brought us all together.
That's right.
Thank you, God, for the eclipse. You know, that's what these things are. Yeah, it was just great.
Brought us all together.
Yeah.
So we were all at the fire station watching the eclipse.
Yeah.
You actually went to the 2017 South Carolina. You were in South Carolina.
Yeah, that wasn't the right place to be then.
But it was cloud coverage.
We were
really
right in.
to see it.
No.
So to come here, and we actually got to fully see it today.
Yeah.
We were one of the best locations to see it. Tell me what you thought after being in space and seeing that. Like, how does it compare?
It compares. I think it's the closest emotional feeling I've had about our planet and our universe and where we are in this universe solar system that we live in. It's the most amazing thing I've seen in that area of wow.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Other than being in space.
Yeah.
But it was as good as anything I've seen in space. I mean, looking in space, you're looking back at the planet and it's amazing. And you see the stars, these wondrous views. And this was right up there. This was like that kind of view. Looking up and realizing what you're witnessing, that I'm actually seeing this at this moment in time, and I'm alive, and I'm here with some new friends, and I was here with my family. Part of my family was with me too, and you're seeing, which makes it actually better, because you see cool stuff in space. You're with a couple of your friends, but you know, there's not a lot of people around you. But just, you know, but it was just unbelievable to see what we were seeing.
And the lights started coming on, the street lights. And then we heard this roar from the downtown all of a sudden. The cheers started happening from the downtown.
They started getting excited,
cool. And then that temperature had dropped. It was just a really cool experience.
Yep.
So, I mean, I will never forget the experience, not only because it was the eclipse, but I was right there with an astronaut.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It was really special. The totality, though, was much different, I thought, than the lead up. I mean, the lead up was kind of cool. It's just getting, this is really cool. Yeah. But when that went into totality and we were able to take off our glasses and view that, look directly up there, and just that beautiful ring, it looked like it looked like a halo around the moon, which was the sun, was such a beautiful white light. It was a gift to be able to see that.
There's two really cool things you did from space. You first person to tweet from space. And then you spacewalked, turned around, and saw the Earth as an astronaut actually outside of the craft in space. Yeah. Those were the two things. Just comment on that.
The tweet was an interesting thing. It was just when I didn't even know what Twitter was at the time. I mean, I kind of knew what it was.
I barely know
because this was in 2008 or 2009, and when President Obama was elected, I guess he tweeted from the inauguration. So I knew it. And Ashton Kutcher or somebody was doing a lot. It was like some Hollywood people were doing it, but I was getting trained to fly in space. I didn't care what was going on there. But then they asked me to do this, and I was like, all right, sure. And I didn't really think much about it. I got some advice from Neil Armstrong when I was a newer astronaut, to not worry about things like what you were going to say and just concentrate on your job. And when I got to space, I realized that wasn't very good advice, because I couldn't think of a thing. And I just wrote. You
didn't know what to say.
I didn't know what to say. I was like, Neil Armstrong gave me some bad advice. I should have thought more about this. I'm not as poetic as he was to come up with what he said on the moon, which is quite amazing. But I just wrote whatever came to mind, which was, the launch was awesome, the adventure of a lifetime has begun. And then I got made fun of on Saturday Night Live.
That's awesome.
And it was Seth Meyers during the Weekend Update section. This is, again, 2009, this is quite a long time ago. But he said, we had the first tweet from space, and here it is. Launch was awesome. In 40 years, we've gone from one giant leap for mankind to launch was awesome, just like that. And then he said, if we ever find life in the universe, I assume how this will be notified. And it shows my Twitter thing that says, geez, dudes, aliens. Right? So they made fun. I didn't know this was happening. We were in the middle of our spacewalks, and the way I found out was my kids sent me some emails like, Dad, they made fun of you on Saturday Night Live.
You made it.
All the kids at school loved it. Keep up the great work, and so I got some street cred.
That's amazing.
So that was the story with the first tweet, but it was another way to share our experiences, which is what I liked about it. And I always liked the communicating the story of space and what we got to do, just like we did today and like we're doing now. So it was just another way to do it.
It was so nice to have Mike Massimino with us today, and great job getting him here.
Thanks. It was so fun.
I just think that made the biggest difference while people were looking at where they want to go the day of the eclipse. It put us on every national news station in a positive way.
Positive way.
Yes.
Make sure. Yes.
It got so much attention and media coverage of Russellville, Arkansas. I think it made a huge difference.
It did.
And I've got the numbers. I have the eclipse numbers that
everybody keeps asking for, the numbers.
These numbers are based on cell phone data, so it doesn't track who spent what money.
We don't have their address or anything,
right,
but just who was in town.
Who was in town and where they came from. So we know for sure that we had 50 states here on April 8th. 45 countries.
That's what blew me away, because we knew that we would have 45 or 50 states, but we did not know 45 countries. We were told to expect about 15. So that blew us all away.
What an amazing opportunity for Russellville, and I think we shined.
We did great. I'm super proud, and a lot of people have said, what would you change? And there's just not really. We were overly prepared, which made the day go so good.
Yes.
So those numbers, I'm so proud.
When you said overly prepared, I got to test out the emergency response system, and I won't go into that story, but they were very quick, and they handled everything well, and I was so thrilled.
Leave it to Megan to have to call 911 on the eclipse day.
For the first time in my life, one of my children had an emergency at 12:08. On April 8th. But I will just say I am so thankful to the city and all the preparation. It was wonderful.
Yes.
And drum roll, we had visitors only in the city of Russellville. So city limits, not counting residents. Visitors only, 46,400 visitors
just in the city. So in the county, it was more than that.
That doesn't even count Mount Nebo. That doesn't count some of our parks that are outside of city limits. That is city limits. That's amazing.
So moving forward on all the dates, now that we're kind of wrapping up Eclipse, and we're glad today's over, but we have a busy May, so there's lots of things people can attend, and we just want to give a few shout outs. So starting May 2nd through the 4th is our annual wood carving competition. May 3rd is First Friday Breakfast with the county judge, Ben Cross, and it's free. Free for members to bring a guest, so make sure and attend that. May 4th through the 5th is the Big Mountain Enduro cycle race on Nebo, and it's huge.
And the Waltons.
And the
just chipped in,
added to the purse. So big, huge event. May 4th is Party in the Park. And so like that weekend is just going to be crazy. May 21st, shout out to Danielle with Taste of the Valley. That's coming back this year. And this is a new one. We have a food truck festival, and it's huge. So May 31st through June 1st out at the fairgrounds. So we have so much going on in May. So just join our social media, follow along for more details on all the things we have going on in May.
Yes, and meet us right back here next month. Like, follow, share, and we'll see you in May.
See you in May.